A live look inside the King County Elections headquarters in Renton. Ballots are now being counted for the 2025 general election. And in the last few minutes, we received our first batch of numbers in some of the state's key races. Thanks for joining us here on the KOMO News YouTube channel. I'm Molly Shen.
And I'm Preston Phillips. A race we've been following closely for months now is the battle for Seattle mayor, where Mayor Bruce Harrell hopes to keep his seat after losing the August primary to challenger Katie Wilson. So here's where things stand after this first update that rolled in just a few minutes ago. Harrell is up on Wilson by 9,000 votes with 23% of the ballots counted.
KOMO's Jackie Kent and Chris Daniels are both standing by, but first we want to get to Mayor Harrell's election party, where he is just now speaking at the podium. Let's listen in.
I have to represent my Japanese side, too. I can't just do one-sided on this deal. This is the clan right here. And you are the family now. So we're going to count each vote. We feel pretty good about this. Let me say this. We got a lot of votes at the last minute here. I mean, a lot of votes. So we're winning right now. Let's put it up in prayer. Pastor Anderson, I thought I saw Pastor Anderson here. Wait, come on up here, Pastor Anderson. Come on up here. Come on up here too, Pastor Anderson. You gotta. I'm gonna close by saying this. Can you just say not a prayer for me to win? That'd be self-serving. Just a prayer. If you want to sneak it in there, you can. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. That is not the prayer I want. I just want you to pray for everyone that needs help. This is my spiritual advisor, Pastor Carrie Anderson, right here. And you guys put those drinks down for a minute while we pray. No, I'm just kidding. This is going to be the last voice you're going to hear is Pastor Carrie Anderson. We are going to end the way we started with, is always in prayer. Okay, it's never, ever been about me. I've always said that this is about what we're trying to do here in Seattle to show this country how we get down here with love, with compassion. The whole country is right now looking at this race in particular. They're trying to see how does a Democrat sort of navigate through these very dangerous waters of implosion sometimes. I could give you a speech on that.
All right, so you're listening to Mayor Bruce Harrell at his watch party as he waits for more votes to come in. Of course, we get that first dump showing that he's ahead of Katie Wilson by about 9,000 votes. But let's get out to KOMO's Jackie Kent right now. She's live in Beacon Hill at Katie Wilson's watch party. Jackie, noticing any change in the atmosphere since those numbers were released?
Absolutely, Preston. And you could see this massive crowd behind me. They were expecting an estimated 500 people at this watch party. We just heard from Katie Wilson in the past few minutes. She says while they are trailing right now, she says these numbers are promising. She's going to do everything she can in the coming days to make sure every vote is counted. She told me she is confident that she will get more votes in her favor in the coming days from the more progressive voters. I did speak with her earlier today before these votes came in. Here's what she had to say.
I'm feeling really good overall. You know, a little bit nervous, a little bit of butterflies going on, but I feel like we're in a good place, and just so much momentum, so much enthusiasm, and I'm just so proud of all of the thousands of volunteers who have contributed to this campaign, you know, knocking on doors, doing so many other things. And yeah, overall, I'm just looking forward to seeing the results.
Yeah, and she just mentioned that throughout her campaign, she's knocked on more than 100,000 doors, and she's not giving up just yet. That's what she said on the podium. We'll have more sound from that coming up tonight. She says if she does win this race, she is prepared to bring in a team into City Hall come January. I asked her who she might want to have on that team. She said she's not releasing any specifics just yet, but of course, we're keeping an eye on things, and we'll be out here, and we'll let you know as soon as we learn more.
Jackie, what are Wilson's goals that she thinks make her stand out over Bruce Harrell?
Yeah, it's a good good question, Molly. Affordability has really been central to her campaign this whole time. She believes that her stance on supporting working families really gives her the edge over Mayor Harrell. She believes that voters are ready for a change. They don't like what's happening with the Harrell administration in terms of his response to homeless, that the administration might just be moving encampments from one location to another across the city instead of creating any real change there. She also noted that she wants to make investments toward about 4,000 units of emergency housing to get more people off Seattle streets, and that's something that a lot of people out here say they really like about her campaign so far.
Jackie, I'm curious, what are the people there saying about Wilson and why they're voting for her?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, they were expecting at least 500 people, major turnout out here. So we've heard a lot of what people had to say. Katie Wilson made a point of mentioning that her biggest voter base are not just the young progressive voters, but it's a wide range of people. I spoke with one woman who said she really likes how she plans to tackle the homeless issue. Another person said they really just like who she is as a person. She seems very genuine. So we're continuing to talk to people. Also, a lot of people who have endorsed Katie Wilson are out here tonight, including the former Seattle City Council member Tammy Morales and a lot more people as well. So we are still talking to people. We'll be out here a lot longer, so stay tuned, both on ARC Seattle and KOMO News. I'll send it back to you.
All right, Jackie, thank you. Obviously, that watch party for Katie Wilson still going strong. We want to get to some other election results for you as well. Here's a look at City Council District 2. Eddie Lynn currently leads that race with a strong 69% of the vote against Adonis Ducksworth. For Seattle Council District 8, the incumbent here, Alexis Mercedes Rink, is up for re-election, and she currently leads that race with 79% of the vote against her challenger, Rachel Savage. And Seattle Council position number 9, the incumbent is also the council president, Sarah Nelson, hoping to continue in her position, but right now she is behind. Dion Foster currently leads that race with 58%. Nelson trails by more than 14,000 votes.
City Attorney Ann Davison trying to keep her seat. Preliminary results show one-term incumbent Davison currently trailing Erica Evans by about 28,000 votes. The King County executive race back for the first time since 2009. Girmay Zahilay is leading Claudia Balducci by around 4,000 votes with 20% counted. All right, now joining us to break down these early results, KOMO political analyst Ron Dotsauer, CEO of Strategies 360. Ron, it's great to have you with us again tonight.
It's good to be back.
It's amazing. It's been a year since our last election. Time
Here we go
flies.
again, right?
So let's talk about this Seattle mayor's race tonight, because it's kind of in par, with what we saw back in 2021 from the primary to the general.
Yes.
And how things are kind of shaping up now. There's a 9,000-point lead separating the two.
Yeah.
We've got the more moderate, the progressive.
Yep.
How do you think things shape up in the end? And does she come closer? Does she pull apart? How do you think this turns out?
Well, first I want to start, we sat here on primary and I said, don't read too much into primary results because the turnout is so abysmal in August. By the way, I'd like to get rid of August primaries, just for the record, again. But, and so the mayor went back to work, and I think he was able to make some distinction pretty clearly between what he represented to the voters of Seattle versus an ideology. Mm-hmm. Now, it ain't over, so to speak, but if I'm sitting there and I got a 9-point, lead, and, that's, and 23% of the vote counted, that's a pretty representative sample. It may tighten a little bit. I would be very surprised that if she's able to overcome that lead. Mm-hmm. And so at the end of the day, I think that the voters in Seattle understood that experience matters and the ability to have 40,000 employees and to make some really tough decisions, which she's done, in my opinion, a pretty good job of for the last 4 years and deserves to be reelected. And she doesn't have any experience whatsoever. I'm not, but what she has is an ideology, okay? And I'm a socialist and all that represents, but I don't know how much else she brought to the table to date so far. So the short answer to your question is, I don't think that she's going to be able to overcome that margin unless there's some major vote count in some pocket that is just misrepresenting and throwing these numbers off. But the historical experience is that early numbers oftentimes becomes a harbinger of things to come. Mm-hmm. So.
I'm curious, Ron, I hear what you're saying about the August primary and how low the voter turnout is there, but I think still a lot of people watching it were surprised. Did it light a fire under Harrell's campaign? I mean, do you think they were genuinely nervous, or were they saying, like, it's just the August primary?
Oh, I think that they were nervous.
Okay.
Looking at, you can't ignore
everybody was calling him the underdog all of a sudden.
Yeah, I mean, I think they some of the media got a little carried away, because I don't think that they looked at it and called it just the August primary. But I think there was a wake-up call as well, and I think that he doubled down in his campaign effort and did, to date, anyway, did a better job of contrasting himself with his opponent, what he was offering up, and maybe how little she was offering up, to be honest, to the voters. But this is a case where experience actually, in my opinion, won out. Again, I don't want to get too carried away, because, there's more votes to count, and et cetera, et cetera. But boy, he's sure sitting in a strong position. And if he'd have come out with a 1 or 2 or 3 point lead on the first tally, I'd probably be saying something a little different right now in terms of what could flip here. But a 9-point margin is a big, steep uphill climb, and she sort of sounded like that was. She didn't sound like she was really going to pull this thing out.
And it felt like he kind of knew what was going on, too. I mean, he's been through this before.
Yep.
It's kind of obvious at this point. You're right. I mean, it's hard to come back from something like that with the number of votes left to count.
And he went back to some of his fundamentals in his campaign. They had a really strong canvassing program. They doorbelled over 25,000 households. That kind of, matters, okay? And he went back and said, okay, let's redo this. Let's kind of get our act together. Let's figure out what we're going to say. They did a lot of polling, a lot of research to get their messages down. And there was as you mentioned, it wasn't just the primary vote total in the primary. It was a bit of a wake-up call to the campaign.
Let's talk about the King County executive race. We've got Claudia Balducci, Girmay Zahilay. Only a few thousand votes separate the two. It's kind of hard to necessarily, if you don't know a lot about them, differentiate the two and where they come from exactly, and what might separate the two as the leading candidate. They both have a lot of similar endorsements.
Yep.
It seems like Girmay had Pramila Jayapal and some of those people in his camp. What do you think in the end separates these two and makes one of them the winner?
Well, turnout. Because it's going to be interesting to see how much of that, because this is county-wide. Usually the East County voters get counted later, okay? So that race, in my opinion, is still too soon and too early to be calling, okay?
And just jump in real quick.
Yes.
When you talk about the East Side, those are probably Claudia Balducci voters?
That's correct, because she's a Bellevue, former mayor of Bellevue. She's got, her council district was the East Side.
Right.
I'm not saying that that's a complete pathway, but it could change the outcome of the race. And so that race is, we may be talking about that race a week from now, potentially. We'll see what happens tomorrow, but this is one of those races that 4,000 votes out of King County is not a lot of votes.
Right.
And so we'll see. And again, you're actually right there. They're both kind of kindred spirits in many ways. And she's much more invested in transportation and other kinds of issues, and he's much more on the social services side of the equation. But both, too, in my opinion, very strong, very attractive candidates, both quality candidates. And King County is lucky to have both of them on the ballot, in my opinion.
Let's hop back into the city of Seattle. City Council President Sarah Nelson, that's an incumbent who is trailing significantly. She is following Dion Foster, 58 to 42% right now. Tell us what you make of that one.
Ouch. For Sarah, it's ouch. Now, she came in 4 years ago on the same sort of moderation tide that the mayor came in. I think the mayor actually helped bring her in, okay? And so I don't know. I mean, that margin is daunting, and maybe more than just plain daunting. I wasn't really into the nuances and the basics of that campaign. But it's maybe that, again, that was the ideological shift in part that was going on with the city council. And so, it's probably a bit of a challenge for her to claw her way back in this race.
Gotcha. Ron Dotzauer, it's always a pleasure. Strategies 360, thanks for being with us tonight. We'll see you again tonight on KOMO News at 11.
We'll be here.
Appreciate it. Thanks. Ron.
And a reminder that all the latest election results are being updated for you on KOMOnews.com. You can see those numbers coming in tonight. And then make sure to join us again tomorrow at 4:30 on our website. That's when we'll have the next update dropping. In the last few minutes, we also got some updated numbers from the sole statewide measure that's on the ballot. SJR 8201 is currently failing, with 58% of voters saying no. If it passes, it would allow the state to invest money from the long-term care fund into private companies.
Now for the big mayoral races in Pierce and Snohomish County, here's KOMO's Steve Solis.
Well, Preston, I was able to speak with all of the candidates in these two races during our Election 2025 town hall. Let's start with what we know about the candidates in the city of Everett. Voters will choose between current Mayor Cassie Franklin or former City Council member Scott Murphy. Murphy served on the council from 2013 to 2021. He was the chair of the council's budget committee, and Murphy says that is one reason why he should be mayor. He believes he is best to address budget issues in Everett. Murphy is challenging the incumbent Cassie Franklin, who has been in office since 2018. She says she has addressed public safety, housing, and economic development as mayor. Franklin tells me she is the best person to continue to lead the city of Everett because of her experience. As things stand now, Franklin holds that lead with 53% of the vote over Murphy's 47%. Down in Tacoma, the incumbent Victoria Woodards has reached her term limit, so T-Town is choosing between a current and a former city council person. Anders Ibsen is a former city council person, works in real estate. He says Tacomans should not be a paycheck away from losing everything. He also believes Tacoma needs a new economic development plan. Ibsen's challenger is Councilman John Hines, who works for Tacoma Public Schools. Hines says the city's budget will be a priority, as well as finding solutions for homelessness. Now, most recently, Councilperson Hines is the person behind the Tacoma expanding their buffer zones to keep the homeless away from city parks, libraries, and schools. Right now in that race, Ibsen has 54% of the vote. Hines has 46% of the vote. You can join us over in ARC Seattle at 10 o'clock for a more in-depth look at our local elections, as well as a look at some of the biggest races across the country.
All right, Steve, thank you. And that is it for us here on this special YouTube Election Night Update.
Don't forget to join Steve over on the CW for ARC Seattle at 10. Preston and I will be back for KOMO News at 11. See you then.